Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Founder Fellowship Info Session. My name is Kate Shubik, and I'm a program director on the Newlab team that is helping to support the Founder Fellowship program. This is a program that's run in collaboration between Newlab and the New York City Economic Development Corporation's Venture Access NYC initiative. So before we dive in today, I want to provide a quick preview of the agenda. I'll start with an overview of Newlab and an introduction to the Founder Fellowship program. And then I'm going to invite Jarrell Guzman, Director of Membership and Operations from Newlab, and Fernando Montejo, Assistant Vice President, Emerging Tech Initiatives from NYC EDC, to join us to provide additional information on Newlab's membership and the Venture Access NYC initiative. We're going to conclude with a Q&A session at the end to answer any questions that you may have. And even though we're reserving it to the end, please feel free to drop questions into the Q&A as we go so our team can capture them and be ready to answer them at the end. So now I'll jump into the Newlab overview. And I wanted to start with just an aerial shot of the main corridor of our headquarters to give you a sense of our space. So this is located within the Brooklyn Navy Yard, which is a 300-acre campus in Brooklyn. And what you're looking at here is our headquarters. This is a 84,000 square foot building that was previously utilized as a shipbuilding facility and is now home to over 200 companies, shared workspaces, conference rooms, prototyping equipment, all of which I'll share more about today. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Newlab is a private company on a mission to apply transformative technology to industry and civic challenges. At a high level, we help build new ventures with founders. We foster connectivity and collaboration amongst our community, and we leverage the full potential of Newlab's space, resources, and network to support emerging technology companies as they work to scale their businesses. And we also connect our talented community of entrepreneurs and innovators with Fortune 500 companies and government entities around the world to foster cutting-edge solutions to help solve industry, business, and civic challenges. At the heart of all that we do are entrepreneurs, engineers, scientists, and inventors. Our primary goal is really to support and empower the transformative tech companies that are building products and technologies to power the future. And so now I just wanted to kind of share a bit more about how our business operates. It's broken down into 4 core units. So through our innovation studios, which you see here on the left, we bring innovators and entrepreneurs together with leaders of corporations and governments to apply technology to pressing challenges. And we run these studios across a variety of industries. So from our prospect mining studio, where we're working to improve the sustainability and safety of the mining industry, to our recently announced Resilient Energy Studio, where we're advancing local energy storage capacity across New York City. And the goal of these studios is really to de-risk emerging technologies through pilot projects. And this can lead to potential investment or acquisition, new approaches for addressing social impact, and exposure to the realm of possible solutions to put toward these challenges. And we've engaged 50 plus partners through these studios to date. The second are our venture studios. So these are designed to partner founders from our network with domain experts to basically spin up new companies and ventures, really using the power of Newlab's resources and network to bring those to fruition. Third is our membership. So our membership community is a diverse and talented network of entrepreneurs that are tapping into Newlab's collaborative environment and leveraging the many resources we make available. We're currently at 97% occupancy post-COVID. And finally is investments. We've made over 20 investments to date in pre-seed, seed, and Series A companies, and we also syndicate deals and build dedicated funds on this front. And then I just wanted to dial in a bit and provide a few stats that help to bring Newlab and our community to life. So as you've heard me say, there are over 200 companies comprised of over 800 entrepreneurs and innovators that are all part of the Newlab community. And this group of companies has raised $1.3 billion in venture capital and is valued at $4.2 billion. We also have a network of over 400 seed and early stage investors that our members have access to. And here at our headquarters, we have over $5 million worth of prototyping and product realization resources and support available to our members. And then finally, I wanted to highlight our member community a bit. So it's growing fast and it's comprised of a dynamic group of individuals. You can see here that 23% of our companies have a female founder, 39% are serial entrepreneurs, 70% have a master's degree or a doctorate, and 38% of our companies have actually relocated their headquarters to New York City as a result of joining our community. So now that you've had an overview of Newlab, I'm going to jump in and share a bit more information on the Founder Fellowship Program in partnership with NYC EDC. So just a few weeks ago, Newlab and NYC EDC's Venture Access NYC initiative launched Founder Fellowship. And this is a program that's designed to provide urban tech founders from underrepresented backgrounds with sponsored Newlab membership and tailored support and resources to help them scale their companies in New York City. And you're going to hear more about Venture Access NYC in a bit, but I want to note that this is an upcoming NYC EDC initiative that is really working to build a more inclusive tech ecosystem here in New York by bringing together industry leaders, founders, and investors. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the core benefits of joining the Founder Fellowship Program. First, this program will provide business development and investment opportunities, as well as access to different programs to pilot your technologies. So this includes opportunities to showcase your products and technology with the community and external folks, the opportunity to receive pitch feedback and seek investment, the opportunity to connect with other members and potential partners for business development or partnership opportunities, and engaging with Newlab's innovation studios, which I touched on, for that chance to test and pilot your technology in real-world environments with corporate and government entities. Second is collaboration with the community. So our membership team fosters cross-collaboration among members and really works to understand the unique needs of the Founder Fellowship Program participants in order to connect them with strategic experts and advisors and really help to cultivate resources that'll be meaningful to program participants. And then the third is prototyping and product realization support. So in addition to some of the equipment that I mentioned, we also have an on-site product realization team that offers consultations, full service fabrication, and a range of support to help companies take an idea from a very initial napkin sketch to a full working prototype. And then finally, I just wanted to take a chance to run through the Founder Fellowship Program timeline with all of you. So as you can see right now, we're in the open call period. It launched on September 29th and is set to close on October 27th. So make sure you get your applications in before that deadline. And then over the end of this year, so through December, a selection committee comprised of Newlab, NYC EDC, and a few external experts will review all the applications that come in and then contact top applicants for one-on-one calls at some point in December for a bit of a deeper dive into the applications. And then in January, we'll plan to notify selected companies and onboard them to Newlab. And then, of course, over the course of 2022, program participants that are selected will have access to all the benefits that we've detailed here today, as well as additional tailored support and programming unique to each company. And with that, I'd like to invite Jarell and Fernando to join me now, and we'll jump into more about Newlab and Venture Access. Excellent. So, yeah, I was just going to say, Jarell, I'd love to start with an introduction from you, and then Fernando, feel free to chime in after Jarell.
Thank you so much, Kate, for that introduction. And hello, everyone who's in the audience today. I am Jarell Guzman, and I am the Director of Membership and Operations here at Newlab. You can see it in my background. I have the privilege of collaborating with a wonderful team that both finds and guides prospective members and supports our members after they join us, and very excited to be with you all today.
Wonderful. And I am Fernando Montejo. I'm the Assistant Vice President at New York City Economic Development Corporation, specifically within our Industry Initiatives Department, working on emerging tech sector projects. So really excited to be here and share more information with you, both as a native New Yorker, as someone interested in tech, first generation, queer, Latinx. So excited to share more.
Amazing. Thank you both. Well, I'll go ahead and jump right in so we can all hear more from you. I'm going to start with you, Fernando. I'd love if you could take some time to just tell us a bit more about the vision for EDC's Venture Access New York City initiative.
Sure. So the vision for this initiative was really born out of the disparities that our team observed in the startup world. specifically around which founders are getting access to funding, access to quality networks, to visibility and exposure, to biz dev opportunities, and ultimately to having successful businesses in New York City. And we know that across the country, Black and Latinx founders get less than 3% of all venture funding, and women get less than 3% funding as well. And even though we're doing a little better in New York City, we are definitely not immune to this problem. So the pandemic really helped to expose some of these realities and in many ways exacerbated the inequalities that were already present in the startup community. So over the past couple of years, we've been speaking with dozens of tech leaders and founders, investors, and looking at the data and reports that are available to do a root cause analysis of into the challenges that underrepresented founders are facing, how the pandemic has impacted this, and ultimately what we can do to drive some real change. So Venture Access was built out of this analysis, and it's made up of three main pillars. The first pillar is to work with the local venture capital community on an industry-wide diversity reporting and standards initiative. The second pillar is focusing on increasing access to capital and networks for underrepresented founders. So very much the focus of today's session. And then the third pillar will help to bring aspiring investors into venture capital firms with the goal of really diversifying the decision makers at these firms. So as the New York City tech ecosystem continues to grow and we see record funding going to startups here, we really want to make sure that this growth is inclusive and representative of the great diversity of our city. We want to make New York City the best place in the world for daring and diverse entrepreneurs, such as many of you on today.
Amazing. Thank you, Fernando. That was great. And we're grateful to EDC for launching this initiative and for being able to partner with you on this great work. I want to turn to Jarell, and if you could share a bit more for the folks on the call, what kinds of companies does Newlab support? And are there some criteria maybe that you could share that potential applicants should keep in mind?
Yes, thank you for that, Kate. And so right now, Newlab supports over 220 companies and more than 900 individual members who are applying technologies such as robotics, AI, and material science to transform what matters the most: health, the environment, media, cities, and infrastructure. The transformative technologies that Newlab focuses on fall largely into 8 categories: robotics, connected systems, AI, material science, blockchain, additive manufacturing, and quantum computing, as well as computer vision. We support both hardware-focused teams, but also software companies and those that are working at the intersection of both. So that should give you an idea in terms of the type of companies that we are looking for. Now, in terms of the application process, first, I thought it was important to highlight that we take a collaborative approach to reviewing applications where our members, our team, advisors participate in the review process and in the selection process as well. Now, when looking at an application, our first focus is to understand who you are, the team that you are building, and the stage of your company's development. Generally, the sweet spot for us are companies that are more towards the growth stage rather than very early stage. And we dig deep into the market problem that your company is uniquely positioned to solve through the application of those technologies that we outlined earlier. Specifically, we want to understand the ambition and the viability of what you're building, and make sure that it is a match with the resources that we have available to you, and that we're not creating too much competition between the companies that are already part of our community. We also consider and put a lot of emphasis on the next 2 points, which are your point of view in terms of the impact of the technology, especially as it scales, and if there is a component to social responsibility to what you're building. Above all, though, I would say that what we're looking for is community fit. And specifically, is this going to be the type of team that will fit within the Newlab community and bring that collaborative ethos that we seek to foster in our community?
Excellent. Thanks, Jarell. That was super helpful. So I'd love to hear, kind of building on some of the initial information you shared, Fernando. Could you talk a bit how this Founder Fellowship program specifically fits into the broader initiative of venture access? And then where does EDC, what opportunity does EDC see in helping to shape the future of tech and innovation through initiatives like this?
Definitely. Yeah, so EDC's venture access initiative is really tackling the root causes of inequality within the startup and venture ecosystem, and focusing on why we're seeing such disparity in funding across race, ethnicity, and gender. And one of the core challenges that we see is that underrepresented founders lack access to networks of investors. These are typically very insular networks, and it can be really tough to get a foot in the door, as many of you know. And beyond that, even if you do know the right person, it can be difficult to present your idea in the specific way using the specific language that a VC wants to hear. So with Venture Access, we'll be exploring a range of partnerships that focus on bridging the gap between founders and funders, and truly trying to change the way that capital can be accessed. With this fellowship in particular, we're really excited to be working with your team, with Newlab, because you guys have a vast network of innovators, of investors and tech industry partners that the fellows will gain access to. And Newlab is also going to help prepare founders, as you mentioned, Jarrell, who need support with pitch prep, and offer feedback sessions to make sure that your ideas are communicated successfully to potential investors. And then there will also be access to cohort-only sessions. These are meant to be safe spaces for founders to talk about your experiences, to share best practices with each other, and to explore partnerships with each other. And then, of course, you'll have access to Newlab's great facility and equipment. As far as shaping the future of tech, we at EDC see this as a test bed for programs that will move the needle on access to capital and networks for diverse founders. We want to understand the needs of underrepresented founders, especially as they raise capital here in the city, and then learn what works well in practice. And ultimately, we want New York City to lead the way and shape what an inclusive tech ecosystem looks like. And we think this program is a foundational step in that journey.
Great, thanks so much, Fernando. And you're already starting to touch on some of the benefits, which is a nice lead into, I'd love Jarrell to speak a bit more about, elaborate on some of those benefits of joining the Newlab member community, and a little bit more about what companies can expect if they're selected.
Yes, thanks for that question, Kate. And so we support our members across 4 pillars that allow them to thrive and grow within our community. And those pillars are collaboration and community, prototyping and product realization, business development and investment, and also pilot opportunities, which are so crucial to tech-focused companies. So what exactly does this mean in practice? First, we start with facilitating connections across our members in several different ways, starting with strategic introductions to fellow community members, as well as advisors, investors, and partners who can advise as to the very specific need that your company is facing when they join us. We build community through member-exclusive workshops, and I see that one of the questions in the Q&A is specifically that. So, how do you foster community? And definitely our programming is a conduit for that, where we offer workshops that both connect members with one another, as well as those that feature advisors and subject matter experts, so that you can discuss topics that are very specific to startup companies, such as roadmaps, how to grow a team, how to navigate IP, how do I hire my first team. In addition to direct introductions, we also have an operating system where our members can find each other through a community directory, and then also leverage the space overall in terms of booking conference rooms or prototyping consultations. The Newlab team, as well as a group of 12 advisors and more investors that are part of our network, directly support our members with office hours. So by joining in, generally, we will meet with each company individually, understand your needs, make strategic introductions, and then also offer a menu of advisors that you can leverage from anything brand and marketing to operations and finance, also to very specific disciplines and technologies. As a member of Newlab, you also will have access to first look at our innovation studios, which Kate mentioned earlier. And innovation studios, through that program, we partner with Fortune 500 companies and civic leaders to solve complex challenges and create real impact. Through these studios, Newlab members have the opportunity to test and pilot their technologies in real world environments and scale their businesses. So for example, through a partnership with Verizon at the moment, companies that are part of the 5G studio are able to pilot test their technology in a real 5G network, and which is one of 5 around the country. So that's one of the other benefits of being part of the Newlab community. Our product realization and prototyping facilities are particularly important to companies that have a hardware focus or a hardware component or product. Our members have access to the facilities 24/7, 7 days per week. And then also our team offers consultation that are very specific to meet your needs. We empower our community to work on our diverse array of projects within the prototyping facilities, and we help you to go quickly from hypothesis to implementation and testing and iteration. We know that access to capital is critical. And when we think about what our members are asking for the most is, one, strategic introductions, and then the second piece is access to capital. And so we work first to understand what your needs are and what you're building, and then what type of investor and capital makes sense for you. And we offer a number of programs, such as the one that Fernando mentioned before, pitch feedback, where you have the opportunity first to kind of refine your pitch and get feedback before introductions to investors are made. And finally, our annual benefits package at Newlab is valued at above $100,000 and includes access to significant discounts from a range of providers such as AWS, UPS for shipment, TriNet for HR, among others. We negotiate these rates on behalf of our community so that we can get a more favorable rate for services that are relevant to the work that you're doing and the day-to-day operations of your business.
Amazing. Thank you, Jarell, for that comprehensive overview of the benefits. I do want to, also, we've got some questions rolling in, so we're going to segue into the Q&A portion. So I am going to invite a few other team members to come on now to take on that piece, and we'll dive into your questions.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my video isn't working right now, but my name is Haley Robinson. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm our senior membership manager at Newlab. And we have a few great questions. Oh, here's my video. Okay, great. We have a few questions coming into the Q&A, so would like to address those right now, and please drop in any that you might still have. One of those is this program for New York City residents, or is open to founders who are outside of New York City? And maybe I'll ask Fernando, do you have a response to that?
Sure, yeah. So we do want to center this program around founders and startups that are based here in New York City. And that's because we want fellows to take full advantage of the program, which will be in person as permitted. And that includes access to Newlab's facilities and equipment, as you've heard, as well as opportunities for in-person networking events. So yes, for now, it is big for founders based here in New York. That said, we will also consider applications from startups that are planning to move to New York City or setting up a team here in the coming year.
Great, that's helpful. And one more definition that we had a question about, how are we defining urban tech, and how broad can that be? Fernando, if you want to take that as well.
Yeah, so I think, it's quite broad. So examples of qualifying urban tech challenges include things like climate change and energy. If you're working on solutions in circular economy or gov tech, public health, safety, mobility, transportation, agriculture, water, infrastructure, accessibility, really any solution that is thinking about improving life in cities.
Amazing, thank you. I have two questions for Jarell now. One is, will we have opportunities to meet and network with companies that are currently members at Newlab?
Yes, that's a great question. And yes, absolutely. So we have several programs and events throughout the month that are aimed at bringing our members together. Some of them are very informal. Happy hours are very popular, for example, which provide an opportunity for members to get to know one another, as well as other more virtual focused programming that is focused more on kind of knowledge base type of programming. But in addition to that, I think that in addition to programming, really what our sweet spot is on connecting members with one another. And that's something that happens right after a company joins us. So we get to know you during the application process. We get to know you also after you join us. And then we identify from the community who should you be talking to depending on what stage you're in. So maybe you're getting ready to hire your first team. Maybe you need help more in terms of finding the right manufacturing partners. Maybe you are struggling with co-founder relationships which happen. So once we have a better understanding of your needs, then we are able to make those introductions within the network. And what we find is that and that's why we place so much emphasis on community during the application, because we want to make sure that the members who are joining our community are also open to sharing and leaning on one another. So I hope that addresses your question.
Great. And then one additional, there was a mention of growth stage companies during the presentation. Some people are wondering what stage companies we're looking for this fellowship. And then one additional question about how can an early stage startup make a splash in the application process?
Yes, that's a great question. So maybe it's easier to define where we would not focus on. So for example, if you are still at the idea stage, we are not an accelerator and incubator program. So that's not really where we are fit to be a good match for you. Generally, we will review your application and then look within our own network and see maybe there is another organization that it would be helpful for you to join to provide the support that you need at that moment. But in terms of how we review applications and the growth stage, I think it's more generally many of our companies are graduating from accelerator and incubator program, or sometimes have been developing their technology within a university setting and already have a prototype that has been validated somehow. So those are evidences that we look during the application process for what kind of tests have you done, what evidence do you have that this is a prototype that is viable, and then looking at it from that lens, then consider you for admission.
Great. And I also say just thoughtfulness in the application can speak volumes for a company in terms of how they're thinking about what they're building out, right? And I know we're at time, but one really good question is how are we defining founders from underrepresented backgrounds? Just wanted to hit that really quick. Fernando, would you be able to help us there?
Sure, yeah, I'll actually hand it over to my colleague, Marissa, who's also been instrumental in making this project come to fruition.
Thanks, Fernando. Hi, everyone. Marissa Mann, project manager here at NYC EDC. Just a quick intro. Yes, I am happy to take that question. So the Founder Fellowship is really seeking to provide sponsored memberships to companies in urban tech led by founders from underrepresented backgrounds to support diversity and inclusiveness across NYC. We welcome applications from founders of all diverse backgrounds as it relates to race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, culture, and economic experience. I hope that helps answer your question.
That's great. Now, I know we're pretty much not at time. Kate, do we have time for one more question or?
Sure, I think perfectly fine to take one or two more.
Okay, great. Marissa, since we have you here, let's see, is this program open to nonprofit organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at this time, we're looking primarily at the startup ecosystem. So yes, but we will circle back on that question and we can get like a full proper response to that.
Great, thanks for that. And then another question about if participants would receive a stipend to participate. Jarell, do you want to take that one?
Yes, sure. So this program provides a complimentary membership for 2 team members. So no cost to that time. There isn't at the moment an additional stipend that is included, but I hope you can appreciate kind of the breadth of services and benefits that come with the membership, although there isn't an additional stipend included. So for example, when we look at benefits package and then the potential discounts that you could have access to as a member of Newlab, that is, kind of a big benefit, or being able to have access to the space and leverage those services. So again, to reiterate, the program provides a complimentary membership for 1 year for 2 team members, and then no additional stipend is included at the moment.
Yeah, I think a really good follow-up to that is the question, and we can make this the last one. My team is small now, but I'm planning on growing in the next year. How can we go about bringing more of our teammates into Newlab?
Yes, that's a great question because we have experienced that in the past. So really what we're committed to is through working with you as you grow. And certainly a nice percentage of our companies are joining us. Sometimes there's one founder and sometimes there's a team of 2. And then they're, kind of quickly growing their teams and their companies. So we work with you in terms of growing with you, right? So sometimes that means helping you find additional desk or office space. And that is an opportunity that will be open and available to you as a member of this cohort. So there's the 2 complimentary memberships. If you wanted to bring in additional team members, you could, and then we can talk about kind of what pricing would be for those additional seats.
Great. I think that is a great amount of information, and we will be sending out more in a follow-up email. So I'm going to hand it back over to Kate.
Excellent. Thank you to all of our speakers today for providing a wonderful overview of the Founder Fellowship Program. I hope this was informative. Please feel free to head to this website to submit your application. And certainly if you have any additional questions, can follow up with us through that page as well. And we look forward to seeing all of your applications. So thanks everybody, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
See ya.
Thank you.